Jeffrey wants to fit in and be liked so badly. He wants to be validated by his peers, and he's constantly trying to imitate and copy what he sees work for other men that he looks up to. Yet every time he posts about it, it doesn't perform as well as the men he's trying to emulate. He's neurotically checking his likes and notifications all day, every day, and ruining his mental health as he can never seem to match up to the men he aspires to be like. Adonis. Adonis follows no one and is totally confident in who he is as a person and lives in alignment between thoughts, words, and actions daily. He isn't swayed by the opinions of others and doesn't try to copy anyone. He is true to himself and others copy him. This is my first attempt ever at a Jeffrey versus Adonis intro to a video. And before you hating ass mother effers get on me, Hamza told me to copy it. I'm in his YouTube course and he literally said, you would be an idiot not to copy my Jeffrey versus Adonis intro hook because it's one of the best in the game. And I really support Hamza and his message of self-improvement. So I would like to be a part of furthering how much reach that gets in the world. So without further ado, I would like to talk about the art of focus and distraction and why I recommend you unfollow every single person on Instagram. So a bit of background on me. I have been a social media creator for about 7 years and got my first 1 million followers in 2020 on TikTok. And I took some well-intentioned, but looking back, bad advice from people to be less of myself. And now looking back, it's so obvious. But in the moment, I just really wanted to have a career in social media. I had been a pro golfer for 5 years and COVID hit. And so golf, wasn't an option. No one could play tournaments. And I'm sitting here, thinking, shit, what am I going to do? I don't want to get a regular job, but I also can't play golf. And so the most natural thing was social media because I had already been working at it and TikTok was this big brand new thing. And I was convinced I could figure it out. I was convinced I could help people. I had this message of self-improvement and improving your mental health and taking care of your fitness to increase your confidence. I had a lot of really wholesome, positive things I wanted to talk about from my own experience. And I moved to Hollywood and people with more followers than me and agents were kind of all telling me, hey, you're too long form. This messaging, we love you for it and we know this is what's true in your heart, but it's not gonna work. No one has an attention span to listen to you talk for more than 10 seconds, so you need to make it punchy, fast, funny, shock value, something sexy, put a girl in your video, and then once you have 1 million followers, people will just like you for you and you can talk about whatever you want. So I took that advice. I really dumbed myself down, even though underneath what I was showing online was still the same person, but I almost killed him off because of going so deep in the direction of chasing views, emulating what worked for others, and kind of sacrificing my own values and what I wanted to promote just for short-term gain, thinking like, hey, if I don't at least gain 1 million followers on some platform, I don't have a chance at monetizing this for the rest of my life and being able to ever get to the place of promoting the message I want to promote. Now, where this became an issue was that once I did have 1 million followers and tried to pivot and say like, hey, what's up guys? I'm not going to keep doing the jokes and the crazy party videos anymore. Like I actually want to talk about fitness, self-improvement, and my own unique journey in life and spirituality and philosophy. And I want to help people. Everyone just scrolled on past. No one gave a shit. And it was, it put me into the last 2 years of my life where I've been, following increasingly intellectual and educational content. And little by little, I've been removing the party accounts and the stupid meme accounts and been, regaining ownership of my own mind and my own thought process because what you consume is what you create and put out. And so I don't care how much integrity you have and how deep you think your character and your values are, if you spam your brain with a degenerate feed or explore page on Instagram or TikTok where all you see is overly sexualized and dumbed down comedy 24/7, those are the type of thoughts you're eventually going to start having. And so I was doing a good job of removing that and following some better educational accounts and some inspirational accounts. but I still was not remaining totally authentic and true to myself despite my best efforts, because I was just being bombarded with too much information. I was following too many people. I would get a good idea about a direction I wanted to go in that I had seen, work for someone else, and I saw some similarities between myself and this other guy, and I would, take action right away and think like, okay, I can make some like motivational gym quote videos. I really like the way this guy's done them, and I can make similar stuff myself. Nothing wrong with that. But then tomorrow it would be the next thing, like, oh, I really like the way this guy does sit down talking head style videos about, mental health. And then the next day would be something else. And the specifics don't really matter. You get where I'm trying to go. I had information overload and a complete inability to focus on something long enough to make it work, because you could call it shiny object syndrome if you want, but basically, you know, doing anything valuable is going to take time. You can't just jump ship after 2 weeks or 2 months to the next more attractive, seemingly quicker route to success. And again, my intentions were pure. I was not copying people that I didn't think I had similarities to. I was copying people that I aspired to be like and felt, hey, if I emulate their content and put my own spin on it, over time I will have a similar presence and impact to these people and kind of help myself grow into that type of person. I already see it, inside of me. Now I just need to manifest it outwardly by reaffirming to myself daily with more and more videos like them. And I guess it's taken me a little while to get to the conclusion here. I think that's just the reality of me still not scripting my videos, because I'm still just trying to daily upload amongst a bunch of other things. And I find that to sit and script right now is going to take me much longer, and it's time I just simply don't have to get these videos out than it is to just go off the cuff. I hope that doesn't sound like too much of a cope. Maybe it is a cope, but whatever. It's where I currently am right now, and so bear with me as I ramble, but still try to make this a valuable video for you. So basically, I just recently went from following like 2,000 people to about 200 people, and that was a bit of a traumatic, is like maybe an over dramatization, but it was kind of traumatic because a lot of people came for me and were like very insulting, and they're so offended, couldn't believe I unfollowed them, which straight off the bat makes me lose respect, because it's such a huge insecurity that people are neurotically checking who's following them and would get so offended to the point of actually going out of their way to try to ruin my day to make me feel like an asshole for not following them. So that's a whole nother thing. But once I moved past that and was only following accounts that I thought were directly related to the direction I was trying to go in life, people related to mental health, self-improvement, fitness, and golf that were doing something positive and constructive and innovative that I was learning from and trying to emulate in one way or another in my own content and lifestyle. Once I got to that point, I still realized it was hard for me to hear my own voice. There was just, because now it felt like, oh, well, I'm not wasting time on social media. I'm actually educating myself, and I'm learning, and I'm note taking on why these videos are catching my attention, stopping my scroll, getting me to buy these people's products and services and courses and mentorship and booking calls with them. I was reverse engineering what was so good about the content I was consuming from the people I wanted to be like, so that I could then utilize it for my own personal branding and my own content, and building out my own courses and mentorship and coaching. So all of a sudden, everything I was doing felt very validated and like a good use of time, to the point of realizing it was too much. Way too much. Complete information overload and overwhelm. And I think that this echoes way beyond social media. This goes into the real world, and everything I've been doing in life right now has been in the name of minimalism and essentialism, and trying to, I'm spending more time meditating. I'm spending more time in silence and solitude. My phone is on do not disturb airplane mode, like 2/3 of the day. I don't take it off until like 2 p.m. So my first like 8 hours of the day, you can't reach me. And just moving more and more in this direction has turned the volume up on my own inner guidance and intuition. And I'm realizing the core of me and my soul is good. And it's been this way for a long time, especially as I've been working on my physical and mental health and self-improvement and learning from other smart people who've gotten results. It's like there's nothing wrong with me, yet being so locked into social media and following so many other people has made me think there was something wrong with me. Like, oh, you're too long form, you need to be shorter. Like, oh, you're too serious, you need to be funnier. Like, oh, you're too educational, you need to be more shock value, more controversial, more have more of a negative tone, so it stops, people from scrolling and gets them to watch your video and gets them to share it. And all of these like kind of dark tactics to try to hack social media all detracted from what was a really good foundation of a personal brand, which is nothing more than a human being. A personal brand is just someone who does a good job of authentically being themselves. And it sounds silly to have to say that, but the reality is, if you can do that, you'll already be in the top 1%, because 99% of social media, and especially bigger creators and influencers, is all fake. It's a total facade. It's a carefully calculated marketing ploy to get you to either help them blow up so that they can get more and more brand deals or sell more of their products and services. And I think as I got just so completely consumed and wrapped up in that, it's my own inner voice just got more and more drowned out. And then recently, as I've removed all of these things that aren't me and all of these people implanting ideas in my mind, even just a post doing well, you may not think like, oh, I'm not talking to that person, he's not getting into my mind. Yes, he is, or yes, she is. If you constantly see top ranking posts promoting an ideology or being a certain way, we are now hardwired to think we need to copy that, because we're all jockeying for position and status, whether it's at your job, whether it's in the dating pool. We're all competing for the highest quality mates of the opposite sex. And it's like, whether you want to think about it like this or not is up to you, but this is a cold hard fact that we are in competition. Life is ranked by numbers, whether it's how much you earn, how many followers you have, and we can't escape that. And so these algorithms really exploit that, and just social media in general, by constantly showing us the highest of the high performers, and that's going to just naturally get into our brain and make us think that we need to be more like that if what we're doing isn't getting those kind of results. And I think that that's been very toxic and destructive in my own mind, and maybe some of you can relate in your own way. And my solution to this, and why I've painted this very elaborate, long-winded picture of what I'm talking about here, is to say I feel so much better and so much more aligned with my values and who I am, and I feel so much more authentic and confident in my voice right now because I've unfollowed everyone. I follow 0 people on Instagram, and again, this is not like some flex like a rapper that follows no one because it looks gangster that like 3 million people follow him and he doesn't follow anyone. I'm doing this from like a really intentional space of like, I can't spend 3 hours a day. And even if that sounds ridiculous to you and you're like, oh, what a loser, it's 3 hours a day, I guarantee if you think you spend an hour a day on Instagram, you spend 4. If you think you spend 30 minutes a day on Instagram, you spend 2 hours. It's like easily 4 or 5x what you think you're spending. And you might think like, oh, I check it 24 times a day. You check it 150, guaranteed. I'm sure there's facts to support this. You can Google it or whatever, but you can't argue with me that you're wasting a significant portion of your day, even if you're a creator and trying to intentionally consume and use it. It's the signals from these apps are too strong. Our brain can't filter through and decipher what's a good use of time and what isn't. There's just attention grabbing things every single button we click, and no matter how strict and stern and disciplined you try to be, like, okay, I'm just going to go on the app and look up this one thing or check this one message or just get my post out, you're going to get distracted by 5 other things. And before you know it, pulling out of the app, your brain will be slightly different than it was when you went into the app. And then if you repeat this 100 times per day, every week, for a year, for multiple years, in my case, for 10 years, you're going to have mush for brains. And it's going to be so painful to remove yourself from that and get back to a place where you can hear your own voice. And I don't want you to have to go through that, because I feel like I've barely made it out alive, and I have. And now I want to help others that maybe feel helpless in the same situation. And so, super powerful thing for me has been unfollowing everyone. And I wouldn't say like you necessarily need to do this immediately, because everything I'm doing right now is in the direction of other people I respect that create and kind of paved the way for me. So I would initially recommend, like, yeah, you know what's garbage on social media, right? Like the dumb like influencer model type accounts that are just like shoving overly sexualized content in your face. Like there's absolutely zero, positive coming from that. Get rid of it. In the meme accounts, like, oh, but it's great to laugh and like don't take life so serious, and like you can discover this on your own, but um, it's just keeping you in a perpetual state of entertainment and distraction, and that in the short term maybe feels great because you're like, oh, it's so fun, I love sending memes back and forth with my buddies. And I might sound like an asshole right now, this might sound like really intense and just, oh, taking life too serious, but that's how I am, and it would be untrue to myself to not say how I feel on this matter. And my hope in actually being myself and talking like this is that those of you who get it and relate will get some benefit, and those that don't click with it will click off the video. And that's great, because I'm not trying to appease everyone. I'm trying to help a specific subset of the population that thinks like me and has had the same issues as me that I have overcome. I want to help them. So that's why I'm being so blunt right now. And regarding meme accounts and comedy and stuff like that, um, I think that's such a short change of what social media can be used for. It can be used to educate you and inspire you to do literally anything you want. It is the most intelligent algorithm for showing you things that will snowball on each other and help you move in a certain direction. So once you make up your mind, like, okay, I want to be a educator online or in the real world, and it doesn't have to be through content. It could be more traditional coaching as a fitness coach, or teaching, life transformational coach, life coach, stuff like that. Once you make up your mind and start moving in that direction, your phone is going to be your best friend. It is going to find a way to put accounts in front of you on Instagram and TikTok and the YouTube recommended page. It's going to show you people that are doing exactly what you want to do and are a couple steps ahead of you and help you get there. And so for that reason, I love it. And so I just think it's like, it's too powerful and too helpful of a tool to just do what everyone else does, do what the 99% does, and just pay attention to overly sexualized stuff and comedic stuff. That's just like the most base level way you could be using these apps. And again, if you don't have any issue with your life and none of this makes sense, cool, keep doing what you're doing. But this is for those that are looking for more and are unhappy with their current status quo. I would strongly suggest this strategy of initially weeding out all of the obvious bad stuff. You know what it is. You don't need me to list out each and every account. Oh, but what about this one, or what about this guy? Like there's some value here or there. Like if you really have to think about it, I think it's a cope. Black and white, what is an important thing to be putting in front of yourself every day and what's just a waste of time. So once you've decided that and weeded out the accounts that are just obvious blacklisted accounts, spend a little bit of time getting inspired, educated, maybe sign up for someone's course, maybe book a coaching call with them. Pay attention to the accounts that are more directly related to where you're trying to go, accounts that remind you of who you want to be, accounts that you're probably following them subconsciously because you see some similarities between this guy or girl and yourself, and you want to be more like that. You want this person to help you bring that out of you, bring those characteristics of being more fit, or being more mentally sharp, or being more entrepreneurial and business minded, or being more of a family man. Whatever the goals you have in your life and the desired outcomes you want, you're probably gravitating towards social media accounts that remind you of who you're trying to become. And so once you've done that and spend a little bit of time in this ecosystem and watch the quality of your thoughts and words and actions upgrade in succession with that, you put in better stuff and you get out better stuff. Then the really hard part, and the part that I feel like I just made the jump on, is getting to the place where you realize, like, okay, I know what to take action on now. I've been educated enough. I've been inspired and motivated enough. I know the tactics. Now everything I do that isn't acting on this is a waste of time. So I don't need to find another similar account. I don't need to see 17 more posts from this guy reiterating what I already know, because they're all going to be so cleverly crafted that it's going to keep you stuck. You're going to stay in the self-improver self-educator mode forever. And then you'll be just as depressed as you were when all you were doing was feeding garbage into your mind on social media. You'll almost be in no better place at all, even though you made all of this change to consume educational content, because now you're going to have realized what your potential was and saw the path you wanted to take, and still have not done it because you're just overwhelmed with information. And every day it's like a new idea has outranked yesterday's idea, and you think you need to pursue that, and then you need to pursue that, and then you don't make progress on any of them. That's a horrible place to be stuck as well. And I know, because I've been there for a long time. And so that's the final stage of evolution, I think, in how to intentionally use social media platforms to improve your life. I think level 10 is you beat the final boss and you unfollow everyone, and you can check the accounts on occasion. Like I just wrote a list last night of the top 20 accounts that I will still go look at their posts on a weekly basis to see if I'm still moving in alignment with the direction I'm trying to go, and just to kind of refresh and remind myself. But I think for the most part, evolution in life is a result of removing all the things we're not. We're born as a pure soul as a child. I don't think anyone can ever argue that any child is born evil. But through environmental exposure, some of which is our choice, some of which isn't, we like, all of this plaque builds up on our soul. And eventually, some people morph into something that they're not, and they get so convinced that that is their identity because it's been reinforced by experiences and other people and outside influences, that they can't hear their own intuition and inner voice anymore. And that's a shame, and that's what leads to a lot of issues in society, in my opinion. So this is something I think could be really effective, and it could be accelerated when you combine it with meditation, with reading, with spending time alone, with unfollowing people in the real world. I could make a whole other video on this, because anyone on the self-improvement journey probably knows how lonely it gets when you start standing for something different than you used to. Now you don't party on the weekends anymore. Now you don't waste your time gossiping. Now you don't waste your time chasing girls. Now you're not obsessing over short-term instant gratification and pleasure seeking and overloading your dopamine every day. Now you're like focused on the long game, doing something that is going to build legacy, leave an impact in the world, set you up to actually provide for others than yourself. Be ready to be a good family person and raise children and try to leave a positive mark on the world. Once your brain has seen what the other side is like, and when you pay attention to the opposite of what the 99% pay attention to, and you start to realize like, oh man, there's a whole other world out there that it's hard to get in the portal to get there, but once you're there, your wildest dreams are waiting for you, because it's such a wholesome, fulfilling, purposeful place to be and a way to live. Once you are on that path, I think anyone who's been there before can relate to how lonely it feels, and just how misunderstood you feel. People are starting to hate on you, and you're over here like, how could you hate on me? I'm trying to improve my life. People are calling you a narcissist. People are saying you're self-serving and you're stuck up and you're holier than thou and you think you're so much better than us now. And it's like, no, it's not that at all. Like, if anything, I was trying to bring you with me and you spat in my face. And that's again a whole other thing. But I think it leads, it's a painful rebirth once you say goodbye to living like everybody else, and you start trying to go down the path of self-improvement. And I hate how, like, I'm sure that sounds cringe. I probably said it 32 times in this video, but you understand the point of what I'm trying to explain when I use that word, and you can substitute whatever other word you like better, but just simply people who are trying to get better, lifelong learners, lifelong improvers, people that aren't willing to just stagnate and just remain stale and think like, oh, this is the way I am. People that have a fixed mindset rather than a growth mindset, like I was just born this way, or I'm this way because of XYZ, and just ignore all of the examples in front of their face of people that do evolve, that had it worse than them, that made more out of the situation. It's like, once you've made that shift, it can be lonely, and I think you'll experience a lot of times losing your friends or losing a significant other. And I also think that that's like important to go through. If that's not happening to you, then you're doing something wrong. You're trying to appease everyone and never say anything that you really believe in, but always just say what everyone around you believes in. So when you're with your old friends, you just morph into their ideology and don't say all of the stuff that you're really working on with your self-improvement journey. When you're with your new self-improvement friends, you don't really say anything about more of the old habits and old friends you have, and you're just constantly playing on both sides of the fence, and both sides can see it's inauthentic and can tell you don't really mean it. And so you're really only hurting yourself if that's the way you're acting. And so I think it can be a good sign, honestly, when people in your real circle in real life start falling away, and that has to happen for you to make space to make new, more well-aligned connections and relationships. And I think, unfortunately, that's where most people get stuck and never break through to the other side, because it is painful, and it is one of these, like, you're 90% of the way there, but you haven't got the reward of being on the other side. And if you would have just kept going, you would have got what you wanted to get, but you couldn't see it outside of your own mind. You're stuck in your own mind, but an unbiased third party could see, like, oh yeah, that dude's like 90% of the way there. Like, just keep digging, bro, keep digging. You're about to break through to the other side and have this amazing experience where the world opens up and new relationships come in and new opportunities present themselves, and you can really cut ties with your old ways of living. That's obvious to an unbiased third party, but in your own mind, it's like so hard to zoom out from the trees and actually see the whole forest, because you're just stuck in the trees, and it's like you're just stuck in the day to day. That's so it's challenging, right? You're putting in all this work and you're not seeing a reward yet. But anyway, that's I guess we could call this a combo motivational speech slash tip list of how to go from having a very clouded Jeffrey brain that can't think for itself and just does what he thinks other people want him to do, which ironically is only hurting him and makes no one respect him and makes him lose respect for himself. So it was a tactical video going from Jeffrey to Adonis, where Adonis is just a leader and acts purely from his own intuition and inner voice and lets no outside voices affect him at all. Rather, it's the other way around. He impacts others and others follow him because he's such a confident man, sure of himself and what he stands for and also what he doesn't believe in. So it was a motivational video and it was a tactical video on how to go from being Jeffrey to Adonis. And hopefully it was also helpful at, making some of, I hope that by going this in depth and detailed, it is going to weed out people that don't really vibe with the message and really put me more in front of people that understand exactly what I'm saying because they have been there or they currently are there. And that's what I want. That's my goal with this YouTube channel, is to start serving the people that I can serve best rather than trying to serve everyone, which is, I think, something that I'm ready to move on from. I've done that for a long time and it's very unfulfilling and it's exhausting. And I think it's actually just impossible. You can't please everyone. So yeah, that's it. Let me know if this helped at all. And I'll try again tomorrow to make another YouTube video that hopefully is a little bit better than this one. All right, guys, peace.